So, welcome back to Witness Stories. In this video, this one's called The Lights Went Out. So let's get started. Look, not to scare you, but I have to say, sometimes your life plan can assert itself into your current trajectory. This is to clear a path to your next stage. That's why these things happen. And while this event seemed bad at the time, it was actually better for everyone. Everyone involved was better off than what probably would have happened otherwise. My parents and their children, including me, were used to hearing about paranormal subjects. And so some movies had a little more reality for us than it would have for the general public. We could see maybe some possibilities in it that other people wouldn't. But in particular, we liked a comedy movie. I believe it was released in the late 50s or early 60s. And this movie was called Bell, Book, and Candle. You could watch it today. Probably on YouTube or other places where old movies will show up. Don't be too afraid of it. It is a color movie. But in the movie, the actor Jack Lemmon was a warlock. And he demonstrated an ability in the movie to cause streetlights to go out. So at some point, I got tricky with the idea. I made the request to my angels and guides to experience something like that, to show, to expose for me such things are possible. I knew this request to not be, request to not be equal to any fantasy of a magical spell in fairy tales and movies, but would be more in line with the secret reality of our true spiritual existence. So after having asked for that, this event combined to also change my life path just a little bit. It was a contributor to that. Hopefully you can take my word for it, and I'll try to explain that. But a couple of years after my request, I got my request answered. It started, I was in my first marriage, and it started one night in Washington State, I believe during a winter's day. I was driving down the freeway at night with my first wife when this started. I should mention, a few years earlier, halogen lights had been replacing the older style mercury lamps. But as these reached the end of their life cycle, these new halogen lamps, they begin to turn off, on and off by themselves. Mercury lamps could also have this same attribute, but this is sometimes true of the halogen lights, but that did not become my exact experience. The thing about this was that it could not be used as, such an event of lights turning on and off, or whatever happened to me, cannot be used as undeniable proof to anyone else. Because I was the person that experienced it. I can tell you about it as I will in this video, but this happened to me. That's all I can say. So for me, it's evidence. For you, it's just a story. But I want to make the point that I asked to see evidence. That's how I got into this. And I'm telling you, if you want to learn things about the universe and if it's right for your life plan, you can ask for it too. But for my own purposes, I tried hard to examine what had happened under the microscope of spiritual evidence. So what started happening is that every couple of days, sometimes multiple times each day, at night, of course, when those halogen street lamps are on, as I would drive under them, either just as I reached them or just after my car went under them, they would go off. They would turn off. If it was only because of the age of the lights, they should have gone out randomly at any time they were in sight. But they only went out as my car drove under them. Exactly as the light was seen at the very top of my windshield, out it would go. And then, of course, they were still out as they appeared in my rear view mirror, and that was it. This could have been because just this type of street light is unreliable. The problem with that is, if this is a random event, when I saw other cars going under those lights, I should from time to time see those lights go out with those cars. Unless there was something different about my headlights, but I didn't have anything special for headlights. This was just, same kind of headlights that everybody else had. Well then, I had to consider, were they partially affected by the car headlights with many of those systems? They included a solar sensor, right? However, there are two problems. Those sensors often control more than one lamp. And secondly, I never had any light go out for the car ahead or behind, and it was always one light that went out. And they always went out just for my car at the exact point above my car. One light at a time if the event happened. It would only be one light. It was kind of crazy. I kind of was, if my wife at the time was with me, I would point it out and say how crazy it is. And I told her how I had asked for this to happen. And tell you the truth, she wasn't in my same viewpoint of spiritualism. And this kind of drove her just a little bit nuts to have this go on. And I mean, it went on for a few years, maybe up to 3. Pretty much it continued clear up through the end of my first marriage. And I think, it did kind of contribute to the frustration of the marriage. It was one of actually several crazy things that went on that did not add up to a real easy time for my first wife. So I think it served two purposes. It helped to contribute to the end of the first marriage, and it also answered my wish, my prayer for evidence of this type of thing can happen. Miracles of various types can happen. So in my life, I, of course, always had the intention to continue to learn more about the spiritual or the paranormal. All, in my mind, sits kind of in the same corner of reality. This intent was not fully compatible, of course, as I was saying, with what my first wife wanted out of life. This divergence was not allowing me to continue along our apparent life plan together. It was, to her point of view, interfering with what she expected out of life. So anyway, this was very irritating to her. And of course, there's other contributing factors to the breakup of the marriage, but several of those other things still also had to do with our differences in terms of what we expected out of our lifetimes and wanted. So, it just gently added to, creating diversions from our shared karma. I am most natural to be a loyal person in marriage, and it took a substantial circumstance to separate us. It almost looked like a setup to me after the fact, what happened was perfect to trigger her to want to end it, and at some point I was willing to. It just says to me that these kind of things can serve more than one purpose at once. It answered my request. It taught me some spiritual and corporal lessons. It was instrumental to allow me a better alignment with my spiritual path. And this path was not a concept I had at the time. I only had some limited knowledge and natural curiosity at the time. I wasn't quite so dedicated to my spiritual intentions. But after this, I definitely did turn more towards the spiritual, and she wanted a more common life. I really can't blame either of us for our choices. So let me reassert for you how weird this was. You're driving down the freeway. Just as you get under the light, out it goes like that. And of all the cars around you, you're the only one that this happened to, that this happens to. I mean, for years, no car in front of me, no car behind me would have this happen. And I was watching for it. Statistically speaking, out of hundreds, absolutely hundreds of these events, I should have seen somebody else go under that headlight, go under that light and have it go out for them. Never happened. Just an amazing thing to happen in my life. Just more things in our mysterious world to think about.